you can benefit from its mass popularity. This is the talk for today on our Wednesday live webinar. Now, some of you who don't know what is the Dyson. Now, Dyson is actually the founder of James Dyson. Now, he has been one of the forefront back in year 2008 with a vacuum cleaner. Now, he comes from the background of engineering, but more in terms of design, right? In terms of design, ID design, that's right, ID design, and that's where he was very famous for in there. But over the last couple of years, it managed to gather a massive market share from the other provider, right? Which is the vacuum cleaner provider, that's right. So having absorbed a lot of the vacuum market share, so it has appealed and actually migrated its business from UK due to the Brexit to Malaysia and Singapore. Now, do bear in mind, remember, Dyson is actually just a British engineering company who take pride, and it actually came out with an idea of the electric car, but it didn't turn out, which I will cover it today. Now, why Dyson Factor is because recently there's been a huge promotion and popularity of Dyson product, which I'm going to talk about: the vacuum cleaner, the hair dryer, the gold-plated hair dryer. That's right, the gold-plated hair dryer, and all this has appeal in a lot of the shopping malls, and it's $3,000 table lamp, which many people find it very expensive. But guess what? It can last you 65 years again, according to my son here, who's really into the Dyson effect. So let's go on to what we talk about in here. Now, do take note, our TradeVSA Telegram is where we communicate all our information, tips, and in here, do share this with your friends so they can really benefit from the TradeVSA trading idea. So get the regular updates, all our stock picks, and also Robbie, which is one of our latest offering to the market, which is free for the time being, which it should help you to find better shares and better idea too. Now, also don't forget, we have our YouTube channel. Do subscribe to your YouTube channel in here, because all video that is presented in here are available for later viewing in our YouTube. What we do, we actually summarize it and make it into a snippet so you can share it with your friends, with your colleague, with your family member, so they are not miss out on the latest development in terms of ability to know about your investment and able to profit from those opportunities presented. So make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel in here at youtube.com/TradeVSA. Now, Dyson, what is all about Dyson? Now, Dyson, again, I said it before, is James Dyson. It did appeal on last Saturday Star Business. That's where I got hold about it. I find, hey, I just visited another company, which I will talk about it, and all this Dyson matter coming up. And there was a newspaper article which actually covered by CGS, CIMB, where it talks about the potential growth about Apple. Now, we all know about the story of Apple growing, right? I have Apple shares, which I bought about 2 years ago. I bought it around 105. Now it's what 262. So it's almost double. Now, whoa, Dyson shares be doubled. Now, technically, Dyson is still privately held, so it is not listed. So people are saying that if it's not listed, how can I benefit from a growth story like Apple, the Dyson? And this is one of the stock which is really a question was posed for my son, who's really like this kind of Apple aesthetic appeal, which, my whole family members all into the Apple Watch, the Apple handphone, the Apple iPod Generation 2, the iPhone, iPad. So is this another Dyson kind of appealed in that? And this really appealed to the new millennium. Apparently, we are the older generation. We said any vacuum cleaner, any hair dryer, as long as cheap, can do the work, it's good enough. But the new millennium, and we cannot ignore the growth that we are seeing in here, which is actually covered by CIMB, CGS. It does say that 70% of these three companies, which we will talk about these three companies, how we can benefit from it. Now, you already know the answer, isn't it, right? Basically, what I'm trying to say, look, you can't get hold of Dyson like you can get hold of a share like Apple, which you can buy on NASDAQ, APPLY. But in Dyson, because it's not listed at all, it's a private company from UK, which happened to move its base to Singapore, the HQ, and that's why many of these companies, the plastic manufacturers like VS Industry, VSI, SKP Resources, and ATA IMS, which formerly known as Danco, has collectively benefited from the Dyson Factor, like a growth story on Apple. And that's what is really excited, where you can see annual compounded growth rate, about 37 and 19%, mainly driven from one large customer. And of course, many people say that, oh, you got one customer, right? But isn't it dangerous to just rely on it? And like it or not, these three companies, the SKP, the ATA, the old name called Danko and VS, they technically never really, benefited from the last so-called tech move, which is actually from the Sony, from the electrical appliance, Sony, JVC. They use Strategist making parts for them, but they have not seen the kind of growth that you see what Dyson has done. And what Dyson has done, now remember, Dyson is a premium brand. It's not a cheap brand, it's a premium brand. And as such that you will see these three companies, eventually many of the shareholders as well of the directors became millionaire because of one client, which is Dyson. And this is the story growth that we are talking about today here. Okay, that's right. So Dyson has been a real game changer for many of the people who's coming into this manufacturing of EMS. The keyword here is EMS. Now EMS stands for electronic manufacturing services, which means it's more akin to like contract manufacturing, where they do many of the parts, especially just for this customer. It's not fully making the entire parts as per se, but they're making parts of it. So there are certain parts where the quality control will probably come in at Dyson, but eventually almost 60 to 70% are made by these three companies in here. Now this is James Dyson, as you can see in here, very famous for these three products that you see. So you happen to ever go into any shopping mall, right? The peeling has always been there. The vacuum cleaner, the bladeless fan, which are more than 1,000 ringgit, right? And James Dyson this year, he's about 73 years old. That's right, he's 73 years old, and he's still pretty much driven to run the market as it is, running the company. Now this is a whole range of the Dyson suites of family, as you can see in here. You have this one you see quite common, right? Let me just get my laser pointer. These are the one that you usually see this a lot in shopping malls or in toilet. The Dyson fanless blade, where you stick your two hands and then sort of dry it up, which is becoming a norm. And this is the latest one, which is the very powerful air wrap, right, hair dryer, which have different modules, right? And this one here is a $3,000 over what we call the LED tables. Okay, the LED tables, and right here on the left hand side are the family of the very powerful industrial right to the home of Dyson. I have to admit, I have one Dyson product and I'm thinking of getting another Dyson product too. And that's always been just like the Apple, how it appeals. You get the iPhone, then you get the iPad, then you get the iPod, then you get the MacBook. So it's always been this kind of mass appeal and mass aesthetic value in there. And that's what Dyson been really doing a real good job on this one in here. I gotta give my hats to James Dyson. Now let's go on, next one in here. So how do we benefit from here? Those three companies, which I will go on next. Okay. Now this James Dyson, now you look at it, they look like brothers, isn't it? This is Apple. Okay, Apple big boss, Mr. Tim Cook. Sounding from the so-called silver hair and the gray hair, they both look very alike. And sometimes you can even mistaken in from here. I just want to show you, is it because the way they look like really senior old men, and they still have this user experience aesthetic design. James Dyson really uses and the so-called flawless design that Apple has, and he's doing it at the electrical appliances. Right, and that's really amazing. I'm just going to show you one video here, right, where he actually, you probably won't be able to launch a new product. Tim Cook will come out, and the same thing goes for James Dyson in here. Very aesthetic appeal. They even look alike. All right, that was my point. Now let's go on to the next thing here, is how to profit from the Dyson Factor. I think this is what all of you have been waiting for, is these three companies in here, TAIMS, which is headed by Dato Sri James Ho, a Singaporean in here who used to run it for Denko. And there's some very recent news that cover with it, and which is one of the fastest growth track, ATAIMS. No surprises, isn't it? And then next you have the VS industry headed by the I think there was two families, right? The Bay family by Dato Bay Kim Ling, which will benefit from the China-US trade war again. The VS industry, they don't need make the Dyson product. There are a few more products that they do. And also the SKP resources from Dato Gan Kim Hua. So SKP, as you can see, which is covered by the Edge, the second fastest growth company in the SME industry, small medium industry, and these are three big tycoon. They became millionaire right now because of the Dyson effort. Now the question you have to ask yourself: can I become a millionaire by investing of these three? Of course, this kind of news is already in there, so you have to take a longer approach. You do not want to buy out when the news are out there, which always we've been teaching in our courses along this while, right? So this is where you have to look at the news, you look at the valuation, we look at the model, the PE relative model, which I'm going to talk about with the help of Roby, and also look at the chart. So this is where we're going to go to, and we teach this all in our philosophy of how to invest in the market. What we want to do is that, look, there are three stocks here, ATA, VS and SKP, that will potentially make you money in the foregoing 6 to 9 months as Dyson continue to grow in this part of the world, as well also into China. You can see, then you will have this very good so-called Apple flawless design appeal. Now let's look at it. Now if you look at the Dyson in here, total revenue for the recent 2019, ATA is about 2.9 billion, right? And approximate 82% of the revenue come from one customer, right? SKP 1.65 billion and approximate revenue almost 75%. VS has about 4 billion. And 40% of the revenue. So if you can see out of these three, right, the one that really rely on Dyson is ATA, right? You can see why, because it's almost like an ATA, 兄弟, like a brother. It makes what? Let me just get my my laser pointer. It makes the vacuum cleaner, the table, the hand dryer, the lighting, the filter, the battery charger, and also other circuit board too. SKP also very similar, except we make a hand dryer, and then VS only make two parts out here. Okay, so you can see out of these three, which one would you like? As they say, don't invest in a company that depends on one or two customers. Definitely in this case will be VS is the one, because it's only 40%. But ATA has this very good relationship with the Dysons, and if the Dyson is going to be in there, ATA will always continue to benefit. So just take note of this fact in here. Now let's look at some Dyson statistics that we have in today inside. Dyson profit grew by 33%, and that was in 2018. It hit 1 billion, almost $5 billion. That's kind of very small if you compare that to Apple, okay? But it is continuing to grow in basically it's an R&D company. It continues to invest in a lot of the futures technology in here. It has close to about 6,000 engineers and scientists, but half of them are in the workforce, 5,800. Okay, and these are almost 50% of them in the workforce. It has many engineers. That's why it's coming out with a lot of very what we call engineering product, but yet have a lot of aesthetic, and that's what in here. And what has really made the last 2 years in Malaysia the spurs in the Dyson Factor is the new investment in Malaysia, Singapore, and UK. Ever since they moved the HQ over there, so that's why we find this is giving us a very good opportunity in here. Now, just last month, Dyson finally abandoned the Dyson electric car project, okay, which in my opinion, which is, I felt that this is very good. This is so-called, you can get it from the internet, a lookalike of a Dyson car, but to refocus on its core competency, which is the electrical appliances. And one of the things that I felt that this refocus back at the core companies, the electrical appliance, the aesthetic one, is because if you look at Tesla, which is more recently, just a couple of weeks ago, they came out with the first quarterly profits, but it is highly questionable. Now remember, when Tesla gone into the electric car making for many years, it did not make money at all. It did not make money. Yes, it does has a brand name. It has a legendary CEO, Elon Musk, out there, and so does Dyson too. But again, we benefit from Dyson subsidiary, or so-called Dyson contractors. In the same way where Apple is, like Apple is Inari and Broadcom, all right? So that's on the Globetronic. So what we do is a secondary industry that support Apple, and the second industry that support Dyson. These are the SKP, the ATA, and also the VS. So these are the company that you want to invest in. So don't directly invest in those company too. Now let's move on. Next one. So what we want to do is that you use Roby powerful features of analyzing the fundamental data, and he can also even show you how to bid the data. So let's put in all these three companies in here. You can see Roby can help you to fundamentally analyze the share. So all you gotta do is just access Roby in there and just put this table, three tables up here, and you can see. So let me just go to the first one, ATA IMS. So ATA IMS have a PE of 18 times, dividend of 2.5, 3.6. Now remember earlier we said that VS would be one of the better ones, right? It's because it has only one customer dependent. You know, this SKP and ATA are really heavily dependent on Dyson. But look at that, they are Sharia compliance. This is a S, this is a S, and this. So all three are Sharia compliance. But when it comes to trading at fair value, okay, fair value here, ATA and SKP, all right. But VS is over price. Now remember, the profit margins for these Dysons are very, very small, so they have to rely on volume. Okay. Now if you look at intrinsic value, let me talk a bit about intrinsic value. Right. Intrinsic value means you're looking at the actual value of the company. Now taking at the rate of 10% discounted rate of return, which means if you invest in ATA, you wanted 10% return, okay, every year. So the price of ATA is 146, okay, which yesterday I think yesterday it started to move up too, which is correctly, I think I bought about 164, 16 something. After that we look at the price, and you can use also Roby, look at the price. So the shares is overvalued in here, because if you follow the value investing model by Warren Buffett, it recommends a safety margin of plus 40%. Now, like it or not, these three companies, SKP, VS, are growth stock. You're not going to get the kind of safety margin that you have. Haven't said that. VS is overpriced. Okay, you can see that in here. And you look at the 3-year growth rate is 6%. This one hasn't. This is on the yearly growth rate. Yes, they are registering quite high, but it has fallen down a bit ever since the US-China trade war in here. On this side in here, SKP is also fair price, right? But it does pay a 3% dividend, and on the 10% dividend, it's giving you $1.09. It is, the share is overvalued, going on the 40% safety margin in here. That means it's a sell. All right. If you are value investing in that and you bought it so much earlier, maybe this is the time to sell. But again, look at the company. These are growth company. You're not going to get them at the discount value in there. And that's why it is. But having said that, SKP and ATA are both trading at fair value. Now remember, yesterday I went in on ATA IMS on a Roby premium alert, and why I like about it is because of this continued growth that I see in Dyson. Why not? When Roby comes out with a premium alert and it is trading at the fair value, I just did the trade. So simple with that. All right. I think I bought it around 1.4 something, which I'm going to show you a chart in here. Now in Roby 2, we can also help you with entry in here. Right at the front here, you could see on August 25th, that's where ATA first comes in. VS already have what we call a red pentagon, so you might want to take a bit of profit. It looks like it's tending to congest, but SKP still continued to go higher here after it made a very nice September 29, which is the stocks considering to go up here. That was the first green pentagon. That's where you come. And if you follow the green pentagon, you'll already be in the money so far in here. IMS, yeah, 146. Remember earlier 146? I think I went in 164. The fair price for ATA, okay, at the intrinsic value is 146. Okay, so this is 146, which is around here. Okay, but now it's 164. It started to move up. Why? Maybe there are more good news coming in. All right, so just take note of this one here for that purpose. Okay, And let's go on to the next one. Now, another runner which many people don't talk about, which I did mention to some of our Facebook reader, is my company visit to Notion VTec. Okay, Notion VTec are what we call component maker on the steel side, the metal one. Now, SKP, ATA, and VS, there are the plastic one, the plastic aesthetic. But remember, Dyson appeal is more on the steel. And these are where Notion VTec are very good. Now, you can see in here, the premium alert came out somewhere around 60 over cents in here, and then the market started to push up, all right? And this is what somewhere around, there was a news that came out, they are ready to recover. Now, many people know about the Notion VTec, about the recent plant restoration. They have a fire earlier this year. So I did my visit early on. I met up with Mr. Tu in here. Now this is another dark horse. There's very little less coverage on that, but surprisingly, if you look at the chart, it has a very nice move from 60 cents to 80 cents in here. Now, what's going to happen in here? We can go and read a lot of news about it, but they are poised for the growth up. It's already been 2 years since the fire. So Mr. Tu here, he was in the dark because of the background shot when I visited him. So there were many surprising news that's going to happen with Dyson, which they have not confirmed yet. But this is where I would share with our members. Members only webinar on Friday. Summary of my company visit on 10:15 in here. So if you are members, make sure you catch me on Notion VTec presentation, Restart, Renew, and Reinforce for Growth, which I did visit him on the 14th of October. So I'll present the summary of the report that I visited, plus they show me a few things in the plant on this Friday 10:15. So if you're not a member, do join us as a member and get this very good privilege about that. So this is on Notion VTec.